So now that we're reading files, we want to be able to do something interesting with data in the files. So last time we came up with a file format that is writing some stuff out. And you actually are given a file format in the assignment that you use eventually. But I'm going to say to you, don't worry about that for the moment. We can get started and play with this. So if you remember the file format we had before, we were talking about a person. We had a first name, last name, and age. And so we can put that in whatever format we want to here. We can do Tony Low 25. We can do, I don't know, Barack Obama. I forget how old he is now. Let's see. So he was around, let's say 49. I don't remember. Not 19. 49. And Donald Trump is he's like 95 or something like that. I don't know. But we can see we can put first name, last name, and then the age inside of there. The issue is we are putting spaces in between. And there are people who have first and or last names that have legitimately spaces inside of here. So let's improve upon this, and we'll put a comma in between first name, last name, and age. Because by doing the comma there, it ensures that we can have a space legally as part of any of the data inside of there, and then gives us a little bit more to play with inside of our logic going forward. So in the demo code, we looked at using the index of, and that's again a useful tool in the lecture. I should say the demo code for the lecture. It's a useful tool, but we know we have a format that's fixed. We know we can do better than that. The instance of is really only useful if the dynamic formatting has different characters at different places. If it's always going to be a consistent comma or space or tab between it, then I don't need to do that. It's much easier to deal with that. So when I read each line down, I have the exact same code before. I'm reading in, printing out each line. Instead of printing the line, I now want to parse the line and turn it into the separate data items that's going on inside of my solution. So instead of adding that code right here, instead of taking line 28 and turning it into a bunch of new code, I want to immediately start thinking in terms of methods. I want to think in terms of abstractions. I want to have some code here which is private static void parse line string line. Okay, so I want to take that immediately and turn this system.out.println into a call to parse line. Boom. Nope, not parser line, just parse line. There you go. Now I made it private static inside of here because the fact that I'm dealing in a main method here. We're actually going to switch this around in a little bit. When we move into a component, we'll take this and switch it around. But for now, we'll stay with a simple little demo. I want to point out, if you want to use the proper file format for the assignment here, follow this. Build the code this way. Test it this way. And then we'll integrate to the GUI. If you're going to build it as a test app, that's fine too. Lots of practice is useful. So now that we have the parse line, as I said, what we want to do is we want to break this up into a first name, a last name, and then ideally an integer, which is the age. We can come back to it in a second, but I just want to give the target. Our target is to fill these three things. And so how do I do that? Well, the string tokenizer controls space, TOK, there you go, java.util.string tokenizer. This class allows us to break it up. And so we can call it ST for string tokenizer for short. New string tokenizer. So the string tokenizer takes a string and then a delimiter character typically. I don't necessarily have to provide it, but it's much easier to provide the constructor. Now, the third option returns to you the delimiter character as a token if you need to count the delimiter character for some reason, but it's really rare that you do that. It's an option, but normally you do it this way. So the string coming in is the line, and then the token that you're going to return in is comma. It's not comma space. Comma space would use the comma or a space as a token inside of here. Let me show you what that looks like here in a second. So if I do, at this point, I can do system.out.println number of tokens. And then say, oops, st.count tokens. So I'm going to start real simple here. I'm just going to take the string tokenizer and count how many tokens on there. I'm going to expect there should be 3 on each line. So I'm going to expect this is going to print out 333 when I go and run my code. 333. Perfect. Now let me show you if I do a space inside of here, I end up with 333. It's still because there's nothing in between them. Let me show you a slightly difference. I apologize. It's not doing control space, but let me show you. Let's say the letter B was a token. Let's do comma B inside of here. Now all of a sudden, 343. So there is no comma B out there. There's no place where there's a pattern comma B that shows up inside of here, but there's the letter B inside of here, so it treats this as a token. So the comma is treated as a token, and the B is treated as a token. The reason why comma space didn't turn anything here is because when you do comma space, there's nothing between these two tokens, so nothing shows up. So it gets rid of the comma and it gets rid of the space. So you can kind of use it as a cheat to some degree to work it around, but it's just really the comma is the delimiter. I just want to show you that inside of there. All right, so now that I got the tokens, I know the order of the tokens based off the file order, the way I defined it. So I can say first is equal to st.nextToken. That's the first one that comes in there. Last is equal to st.nextToken. That's the second one that comes in there. And then age is equal to, I can't just do st.nextToken because that's a string. That's not going to compile. So I'm going to take that as an integer.parseInt and wrap that around here. And that's going to give you my age. All right, so this is just a quick code. Just try and do it here. Just fill in each of the 3 of these, and let's just see if it runs. Oh, something blew up. So what happened? A number format exception for string 25. It says space 25 inside of here. So what is going on here is each one of these tokens has the spaces not taken out. Again, I could cheat on that and put the space inside of here, control space. Now if I run this, oh look, 3 tokens, 3 tokens, 3 tokens. And I do real quick system.out.println, excuse me. I can do first and a space, last and a space, and age. So I can print this out just to show you. There you go. First, last, age. I'm now parsing this out nicely. This will sort of kind of clean it up in some instances. It won't necessarily clean it up in all instances, because then if I go through and add a person, which is Baron von Trapp. All right. Now when I run it in, boom, it blows up on me because Trapp is thought to be a number inside of there. So Baron is the first name, Von is the last name, Trapp is the age, according to that. So again, it picks up the space as a delimiter. So I have to be very careful about how I do this. So I can't do it like this. The better option inside of there is just do a .trim on each of these. And so I can do .trim here, .trim here, and .trim here. And now it'll let my Baron von Trapp come in just fine. All right, so that's delimiting here. This is not perfect, but it's an excellent next step. What we're going to look to next is how do we make this more perfect.